Good evening, everyone. My name is Julie Ellingson. I'm the Executive Vice President of the North Dakota Stockmen's Association, and we want to thank you all for joining us this evening for our Seed Stock Council's virtual marketing webinar, Leveraging Your Mailed Marketing. Not only do I work at the Stockmen's Association, but I'm also, like many of you on the call, a seed stock producer. And so if you're like me, I know your to-do list is filling up as we head into and prepare for production sales season. And so I look forward to hearing from our speakers and having a good dialogue back and forth where we can share ideas and learn from one another. As I mentioned, glad to have you here. The Stockmen's Association, as I think that most of you know, is a 93-year-old cattle producers trade organization. The Seed Stock Council is one of our divisions, and we'll hear a little bit more about that here in a couple of minutes. If you haven't already done so, we'd ask that you mute your microphone. And bear with me as I navigate Zoom and get out the rusties here. If you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to use our chat box, and you can type your question into the chat, or I will do my best to try to keep track of my email as well. That's jellingson@ndstockmen.org. Again, but the chat might be the easiest for tonight. And at some point, we'll have the Q&A with our speakers, and then we can just have you unmute your microphone and then ask the speakers the question directly. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our Communications Director, Elizabeth Nesha. Elizabeth is our Communications Director and our Staff Liaison for the Seed Stock Council, and she'll tell us a little bit more about the sponsoring organization tonight.
Good evening, everyone. As Julie said, I am the North Dakota Stockmen's Association's Communications Director, and in that role, I serve as the staff liaison for the Seed Stock Council. The mission of the Seed Stock Council is to promote the seed stock industry in North Dakota through education of both seed stock producers and their customers, through planned programs, printed information, legislation, and any other feasible means. Tonight, we will live out the council's purpose to provide a means where the seed stock industry in North Dakota can learn and have input. On the screen, you will see a list of the Seed Stock Council members and alternates recommended by their prospective breed associations and appointed by the North Dakota Stockmen's Association's president. I'm going to turn the floor over to North Dakota Stockmen's Association Seed Stock Council Vice Chairman and Red Angus seed stock producer Carissa Dawes to introduce tonight's first speaker.
Thanks, Elizabeth. As a Seed Stock Council, we believe it is important to bring continuing education to producers. When we were discussing possible topics, mailings and the postal issues came up. As seed stock producers, we often ask questions like, how long is my catalog going to take in transit? And what added services can I get with different mail options? Here tonight to answer these questions and more is our first speaker. Born and raised in North Dakota, Jody Goodace has worked for the post office for more than 27 years, working in various positions. She serves as the U.S. Postal Service Headquarters Territory Representative, helping customers with shipping and mailings, which brings her here tonight. Jody?
Great. Well, hello, everyone. Let me share my screen here. All right. Can everyone see Rethink Direct Mail?
Yes.
Excellent. Perfect. Let me just move this a little bit. All right. So hello and good evening, everyone. Randy is also here from the post office, and we are super happy to be with you all tonight to give you just a little snippet of the process that we go through to process your mail. Before I begin, I want to thank the Stockmen's Association for inviting us and given the chance to share all the features and benefits of utilizing the Postal Service. So that being said, we will go over the agenda. And if there's anything that we miss, please feel free to ask, okay? All right, so, sorry about that. All right, so there's a plethora of channels and methods to choose from. Which new tactics or technologies will you include in your marketing strategy and your event strategy, so in order to bring people in to be interested in your cattle. We are here to help answer this and other questions that you may have. So to begin with, we'll watch a video that shows the power of the hands-on in-home messaging. After that, we will talk about the life of that messaging and then dive right into the classes of mail, each with their own different requirements. Then we will talk about the creation of your mail piece and what you may or may not want to include. And I realize that your industry is very specific and you may not need to dress up your mail piece like other industries do, like banking or retail and such. But I will offer some suggestions anyway, because that's just what I do. Then lastly, we will show you one of our newer enhancements that you can add to a barcoded mail piece that would benefit your residential customers. After that, I will, if you have any questions, please, like Julie said, drop them in the chat or come off of mute and just go ahead and ask them. All right. So this video was developed with political mail in mind, but it works with any industry, and it's kind of fun to watch. It's one of my favorite videos from the Postal Service. So.
Every voter has a mailbox. Unlike email, there's no delete key. No matter how hard you look, direct mail connects like nothing else. In fact, half of voters say mail helped them decide how to vote. This is Carl, a USPS mail carrier. It's hard to scroll past Carl, but who'd want to? Most Americans are happy to get their mail. And half said direct mail was the most memorable form of political advertising. Here's Sandy on her mail route, and these are ad blockers. They work on digital ads, but Sandy is real, just like the mail she's delivering to voters. And more than half of them trust mail over online ads. This is a TV commercial. But Mia is in the kitchen because she really wanted a snack. Over here is today's mail, waiting patiently. Half of voters agree direct mail is just harder to ignore than TV. Make direct mail part of your campaign.
All right. So, again, one of my funner videos that I like to show the customers. So this screen shows the longevity of the different your omni-channel strategies. Email lasts up to 17 seconds, Twitter about 18 minutes, Facebook about 5 hours, LinkedIn about 24 hours, but direct mail has a life expectancy of up to 17 days, which is quite impressive this day and age. All right, so before we start this portion of the presentation, because there's a lot of information, as you can see, this is a very filled power slide. But again, this is recorded, so you're going to get all of this information, which you can look at your leisure. So no need for screenshots or shorthand. So we have, the Postal Service divides mail into the different classes of mail. Each class of mail has different features, service levels, and postage prices, along with pre-sort requirements. So for most of your mailings, the content of the material and postage will determine the class of mail that you select. I took this snippet off of Postal Pro, which is accessible to anyone, and the link is on a PowerPoint or on a slide in the near future here. So you can click on it and go through all of these as well. But Priority Mail Express is our fastest service and more expensive, of course. And you can put anything mailable, letters, merchandise, really almost anything that's not hazmat. Priority mail, kind of the same thing. Anything mailable, bills, invoices, personal correspondence, and merchandise. The first class mail is, again, anything mail, and you'll see a little redundancy here. Bills, invoices, personal correspondence, and merchandise. Periodicals, those are just newsletters or magazines, and you do need to have a formal authorization that is needed for that. Marketing mail is all of your advertising, circulars, your newsletters, small parcels, merchandise. Package services and retail ground, that's merchandise, catalogs, bound printed matter, computer media, etc. And the slower portion on this slide shows the different classes of mail. The speed, if you're interested in something really fast, you're going to want to use one of the top three. If you're more interested in lower cost, you're going to want to mail a little bit earlier and go with like your marketing mail or, a retail ground if it's a package. This determines what we do in case of forwarding or return. These show extra services that you can add on to each class of mail, and then if there's incentives. So now the physical standards for letters alone, letters and postcards. Postcards are 3.5 to 6 inches for height and 5 by 9 inches max for length. The regular letter dimensions, and you can kind of look over this. I mean, I don't want to read everything and bore you to death, but so the retail price of first class postcards is currently 44 cents. While first class letters are sent at 60 cents. And marketing prices are less, but they do require sortation. So if you want to do a little something larger than a letter piece, and something that demands a little more attention than what you want is called a flat, which starts at $1.20 for retail. And again, commercial prices are going to be cheaper, but they do require sortation as well. So then again, this is anything that's bigger than a letter, but in a lot of different requirements. One dimension that's greater than 6 1/8 inches, or 11.5 inches long, or 1/4 inch thick, and all of those, are going to be determined by what you want and the size, and what you want to use as your mailing. So now that we've seen some of the sizes and requirements, let's take a look at what you might use to fill that real estate. So research has been done, and this next information has been proven to grab the attention when you create your mail piece. So what draws people's attention? 80% were drawn to pictures of people, or in your case, good-looking livestock, before products or object shots. The blast box was somewhat effective, and this is the blast box here. But Johnson boxes were very effective also. A Johnson box is commonly found at the top of direct mail letters or flats, containing the key message of the letter. Its purpose is to draw the reader's attention to this key message first, and hopefully grab their attention long enough to have them read the rest of the letter. And it also shows that warmer colors draw your eye contact, easy for me to say, a little bit faster. All right. These are some examples of Johnson boxes that I found on the internet. So as predicted, digital has become so big that at times it's so difficult to hear the message clearly. Now with technology, it's easier to refine the message and hit consumers from multiple channels. Now direct mail can be even more targeted and personalized to specific individuals. You'll notice on the screen here that when the baby's facing you, you're more apt to look at, oh, how cute the babies are, and pinch the little cheeks. But if the baby's looking at something, you're more apt to draw your attention over to what the baby is actually looking at. All right, so This image is from Precision Dialogue that shows that all 3 sections of the postcard were seen, but not all of the text was read. So users were drawn more towards the numbers and larger bold font. So now, after you create your mail piece, you want to make sure that it gets to your intended audience. You've gone through a lot of time to create the mail piece. Now you need to make sure that it gets to your customer. Annually, we have 45 million Americans move every year. And that's a lot to keep up with. So the Postal Service, or we, process your mail on machines that read the address information and translate it into a barcode. If you already have created your own barcode on the mail piece, that bypasses any type of if it misreads the address, and it would bypass all the delays in getting this sorted. So on Postal Pro, all of these blue statements here they're linked to how to get an address list, how to check your addresses to compare them with the address at our main address list here. So at the post office, as far as like delivery address, your return address, special addressing services, like if you want that mail piece back if that person is no longer there, or if you want to just deliver it to whoever is at that address. There's a lot of different ways that you can add a special service on there. All right, so you've created your mail piece. You've determined how you want to send your mail piece, and you've got a good address list. So how are you going to send it? We have 3 different ways for you to pay for commercial mailings. Now, if you want to go first class, you can get a postal meter and just print out the price that you want on your mail piece. You could go to the local post office or get stamps online and affix first class postage onto those and drop them in any mailbox. But if you do want to save a little bit of money and go for commercial mailings, these are how you can pay for those. So you can use pre-canceled stamps. They look like a regular stamp. However, you purchase those at a lower rate, and then you pay the difference when you drop them off at the post office. And it almost looks like it should be a first class stamp, and it adds that personal touch to your envelope to give your customer a little more incentive to open it. If you do a postage meter or PC postage indicia, those are, like I said, the fixing the meter, so you can, like a first class flat is $1.20, so you'd print out $1.20 and place it on there. Permanent imprint, that allows you to set up an account with us. You deposit money into this account, and the money is deducted when you drop off your mailing. And then all of these are hyperlinks to explain what it is, how to get a permit, how to pay an annual fee, and all of the steps that go with that. Okay, so you've decided you want to do a commercial mailing. Now, you do have to sort your mail. You do have to get supplies. You have to sort it according to our specifications. Depending on how much you mail, if you don't do a lot of sortation, you're still going to save money. But the more you sort the mail, it's called the work share. So the more work you do for it, the less work we have to do. And that in turn gives you more discounts. Then you prepare your containers of mail, because we do need labels on the mail. And then you fill out your postage statement. And again, these are all hyperlinks on Postal Pro. And when you finish these steps, you'll be ready to drop your mailing off at the post office or the business mail entry unit where the permit is held, which would be Randy. There are a lot of people who don't want to tackle this stuff on their own. There are a plethora of print shops who will do this work for you. Just so you know about that. International and domestic mailings have to be separated. And again, we talked about the reason why you want to pre-sort your mail is that it results in lower postage, and you're doing some of the work for us. So again, this is a little bit of information here. I'll just let you read this bottom part by yourself. Okay. So this is preparing all of your containers. Like I said, we provide all of the cardboard and plastic containers that you need to use for it. So you just need to come in and grab that stuff from us, get it all prepped and strapped, and then bring it into the post office. And again, a lot of hyperlinks. And it seems easy. There is a bit of work involved with it, but it does pay off in the end. And once you get the hang of it, it makes it easier. All right, and this is the homepage of Postal Explorer. So that's where you can find a lot of information as well. And I put the hyperlink on here. Postal Explorer and Postal Pro are the two that Randy and I have found to be the most effective. This also, again, this is Postal Pro. They give you step-by-step instructions on, this one was how to create your intelligent mail barcode, which is this right here. All of this has who mails it, and where it's going to, the class of mail, all of that stuff, all of that information is in this little barcode. Okay. So Business Customer Gateway, that is your portal to everything postal. So you can manage your post office boxes, you can manage a postage due account, a permit imprint, any type of activity that comes through the post office, you can do this. So this is your one account for all of your postal needs. So we deliver to over 163 million addresses every day. As of the beginning of October, we have over 50 million registered users of Informed Delivery. So I really went off track here, and some of you may be wondering what Informed Delivery is. So let me show you. And this video can explain it way better than I can here, if I can get her loaded. Here we go.
More than 1 in 10 eligible U.S. households are using Informed Delivery from the United States Postal Service. It's a powerful feature that allows you to track packages or digitally preview your mail before it arrives. You can interact with special offers, schedule redeliveries, or leave delivery instructions for your carrier, all from a PC, tablet, or mobile device. It's convenient and free. To get Informed Delivery, you must have a USPS.com account. Go to Informed Delivery, and once you have read the terms and conditions, select the checkbox. Then verify your identity online by entering your phone number. USPS will send your cell phone a code, and then you are all set. You should begin receiving notifications within a week. It's that simple. Sign up for Informed Delivery today.
Okay, so you're probably wondering why I threw that in here. So let's see here. Sorry about that. So commercial mailers, first-class mailers, anyone can create an Informed Delivery campaign that would show up in your email. It would show a colored screen with a URL link on it. Most images come in just on a grayscale format. So I'm throwing this in there as another option for you. Once you create your mail piece, And right before you send it out, you create an informed delivery campaign that increases your interactions with your mail piece, because they have the option on their phone. And I'll show you, I have a picture of how it looks on your phone towards the end of this presentation. But your customers can click on the link and you can send them to your call to action. Or there's also an event reminder on there, so they can add it into their calendar so that they remember when your sale is, or to even go and look and get prepared for the sale. This kind of explores or explains how businesses use informed delivery. This is from the Oregon Humane Society, and they did mailings, back-to-back mailings, a year apart, the same exact mailings, and they had different results.
All right, come on. This is Petunia, and this is her best friend Rich. This is the story of how a dog inspired a donation campaign like no other. Petunia's rescue story was the driving force behind the omni-channel campaign that donors just couldn't ignore from the Oregon Humane Society. As the largest humane society in the Northwest, OHS rescues and supports more than 11,000 pets each year, no matter how long it takes to find them a home. OHS relies solely on donations, so they turn to USPS to help them bridge online and offline efforts. Informed delivery was the key to turn a single mail piece into a multi-touchpoint campaign. On the day the campaign hit, this daily email digest offered a preview to subscribers with linked images to content that tugged at their heartstrings and opened their wallets. OHS fetched impressive results. They raised 7.7% more than last year, with a total of more than $236,000. They also achieved a 67% email open rate, with a click-through rate on the ride-along content that was 2 times higher than the national average. Informed delivery made all the difference for OHS, just like Petunia made all the difference for Rich.
All right. So that, again, is another one of my favorite videos from the post office. I mean, who doesn't like animals, right? I mean, I think I'm talking to pros here. So let's see here. Let's see. I'm having computer malfunctions. I apologize. All right. No. Okay, so this is how it looks on your phone. Of course, this is an iPhone, so it's going to be just slightly different on Samsung or whatnot. But this image here, you can add a color image if you want, or it can be grayscale. And then this is a URL link to take them to your call of action, whatever you want them to click on. This is an image of just a grayscale piece that comes in your regular mail. All right, so that is it for my part of the presentations. Has there been any questions at all? There we go. Oh, Julie, I think you're muted.
Hey, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't see any questions yet in the chat, but we had some that were submitted earlier. And so again, if there's some from our audience, pipe in or whatever, or type them in the chat, but I'll sprinkle a few in the meantime as people think of some others that they might have on their mind. I know one of the screens, Jody, it indicated, I think it was a hyperlink for some anticipated rate changes. Can you tell us about what's anticipated for the upcoming year, or if something solid is in place, and if so, what classes that those changes might be applied to?
I know we have applied for, I'm just pulling up some information here. Let me get my emails up. I know we have I don't know if it has been approved yet. And what I can do is when I get this information and it's approved, I can send it on over. And that way you can send it out to everyone who's on the call or everyone of interest. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, just so we understand, so that the Postal Service applies for a rate change that has to be approved by somebody. But at this point, we don't have anything solid of something concrete of what that would be necessarily in the near term.
Correct. And I can look while we, because there's another presenter on tonight, correct? Because I can look then while that person is talking, and if I find it, and then I can pop back in and answer that question, okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
Another question that we had received earlier was regarding international mailing. So our producers here in North Dakota, many have international customers in Canada. And so talk to us about the most impactful way, cost-effective way to get mail pieces like 8.5 by 11 catalogs to somebody who is across the international border, what the options are, and maybe what an expectation would be of time to get that from point A to point B, knowing we have to cross the border.
Oh, sure. Randy, are you able to tackle that question?
You can do some international mail with like international airlift and stuff, but most, if you're mailing just a few catalogs here and there, I mean, most of your retail postage would be able to handle that. There are some priority mail envelopes for international. There are some stamps, if you're just mailing letters, some first class stamps, but I mean, it would depend on where they're going, how many pieces they got, just like any other bulk mailing, they have to sort it through the, destinations and stuff. So it's a little more complicated. I'm sure if they came up with a list of what they had and stuff, we could give you some approximate prices. But getting back to that rate increase that you guys were talking about, that's going to be, and I believe that's been approved, it's coming up in January. When they do rate increases like that, that's all under that Postal Explorer site that Jody had, that pe.usps.com. It's going to have the new rates in there. It's a Notice 123. The Notice 123, the current one will be on there. Then there will also be a Notice 123 for the changes that are coming up. So you can plan accordingly. You can find your rate changes on there. But the international mail, I wish I knew more about it too. It's not, I mean, you get us information, if you have somebody doing it directly, we can definitely work with you or put you in contact with our district. They deal more with that. But there are some discounted rates if you have a higher volume. That's what you're looking for.
Another one of the questions that was posed relates to getting back address corrections. There was the small table you had in one of your slides, Jody, that had talked about the different pluses and minuses or incentives that come with the different classes. Of those that offer return address or updated address information, is there any of those that are quicker to get back than others?
Well, again, there's no direct answer for that covers all the mail classes. So if you do first class, if you want it forwarded on and you get a copy of the change of address back for a slight fee. So addresses, it all depends on the class of mail. If you send it first class, it's going to get there a whole lot faster. We do forward for free. But if you want to know that customer has moved, you can either request the mail piece back and you can readdress it and send it again, or you can request that it be forwarded on and you just be notified of the change so that you can update it in your address system. So as far as marketing mail, yes, you can do the same thing. You can have it forwarded on and you'll get notice of it. Of course, for a fee, or you can get the mail piece back for a fee with marketing with the new address on it as well. Time frame for those, it should be the same. Now, marketing, your first class is going to be a little speedier than your marketing mail. I guess within the state, I would add another couple of days onto your marketing mail versus first class. So if did that answer the question?
I think so. So I think the question was directed about getting those address corrections, but I think what you've hit on too about the time that it takes from being mailed, I think is really one of the critical things to the audience that we have today of if I mail my catalog on X day, when can I expect my customers in the state or the region mostly to receive those by?
Okay, yep. Yeah, and that again, and it's all on the first class. If you have a little more time to prepare and send your mail, but if you're going to do marketing, I would definitely prepare for it and send it maybe even a week before you want them to get it, especially if you're doing anything over Christmas.
Sure. I have one other question in my bag of tricks, unless there's some from our audience. Does anybody have a question? I'll sit it out for a moment if there is.
Jody,
Yes.
question for you. Accountability for mail services, all first class. It seems to me sometimes on these first class letters, they go missing for 3 to 4 weeks and may or may not show up after that. Where's the accountability on that mail service for that?
Well, yeah, as a large organization like this, it's, and all I can say for even just to start with answering that question, which I can't answer it completely, but we apologize. We have staffing shortage around the nation, like everyone else does, and it's sometimes the letters do get damaged in letter machines that make them unrecognizable, and that doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. And there's just some delivery delays in certain areas. But I am not in processing or operations, so I don't have the in or the no of what all is going on in there.
Thank you.
You bet.
We had another question come in through the chat. Can I check correct addresses on Postal Pro or somewhere else before I actually do the mailing? So basically,
I do believe
getting the right addresses, I think, getting the correct ones so they aren't returned.
I do believe you can run your address list through the Postal Pro, and it will let you know if there's like an apartment number missing or avenue or street or something else that needs to be changed on it.
Another question I may have missed, if I'm sending catalogs to Canada, how soon in advance should they be mailed? I think that we talked about that a little bit, but maybe it depends on the quantity and where it's going. But any more specificity you can add to that, either Randy or Jody?
Well, I know, and again, go ahead, Randy. I see you're on.
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of that's out of our hands. We do, if it's, definitely first class, it's going to get flown to Chicago, and then from there it goes through customs, and then, that's not the post office, so however long it's in customs, but it's treated just like any other first class as far as we're concerned. It's going to get your, 3 to 5 day service or 2 to 5 day service to Chicago, and then from there it's not in our control anymore.
Mm-hmm. And I think with marketing, if you do catalogs, it should be at least 2 weeks in advance.
Great questions. Are there any others from the group?
I've got a question for you, Jody. This is Kevin. We had a customer that we mailed our catalog to 3 weeks prior to our sale, and he lives in Moorhead, and it took about 3.5 weeks for it to get to him. And I don't know if it was where our printer had delivered the catalogs to the post office, would it be beneficial if we picked them catalogs up and brought them right to the post office, sorted and everything? Or would that help anything in expediting the process of getting them catalogs out? Because everything's so time sensitive. We're always up against the wire that we're getting these catalogs printed, you know. We try to be 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time, but sometimes you're less than that, and trying to get them to the people in time for them to have the catalogs in hand prior to sale time.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, as long as and it shouldn't take that long to get to Moorhead, but I guess as long as the printer, you know, promises, or you let the printer know that it has to be there on a certain day, or even double check with the printer. It's always, as long as you know that it's in the post office's hands, and when it gets there, that is crucial. So if it's possible for you to speed that up by going and picking them up and bringing them to the post office, I guess that's something that definitely can be looked into.
The funny thing that happened actually was that we had customers that had catalogs within 2 days of them being mailed, and I don't know why there was so much difference, I guess, and maybe it just got misplaced or lost or sat at the post office. I'm not sure what happened, but it's just a concern of ours, I guess, that it's nice to get these catalogs, once we've got them done, into customers' hands as quick as possible.
True. And that could be something too, where a machine misreads the address and sends it to an incorrect destination. Like it reads, instead of 58501, it'll read 68501, which is in Nebraska. So it sends it down to Nebraska, and by the time they get it down there and notice, oh gosh, this is Bismarck, and send it back up to us, you have quite a delay on there. So even adding the barcode onto the mail piece, if that's an option for you, that is highly beneficial and does eliminate that type of delay.
Is there a day of the week?
Go ahead, Kevin. But you're muted if you're talking.
There, let me try this.
There you go.
Okay. Is there a day of the week that is better to mail large mailings like that? We're mailing 1,000 pieces or more, or whatever you're mailing for catalogs at one time. Is there a day of the week that is better than the rest of the week?
I'll let Randy handle that one, because he does work in the BMU every day, so he would probably have better insight than I would.
I mean, there's not really a day that's better. I mean, everything's going to should get the service standards that based on the start the clock date. It's just, remember, if you mail it on a Friday or something, you hit a weekend in there, they're not necessarily going to process it on a Sunday. But if you're mailing it, I can give a little insight on if you're mailing it at a bulk rate, or at a standard or USPS marketing mail rate. But if you mail from Bismarck, and we serve this whole half of the state, we would put a color code on there for a 3-day delivery. So if you drop it off on a Monday, we'll get color coded for in home on a Thursday. First class is going to get a 2-day delivery, and no color code on first class. It's just a 2-day commitment. So depending on where it goes, I mean, there is no, to answer your question, no, it doesn't really matter what day. It should still get the service standards, not counting Sunday for delivery. That helps.
Is the beginning of the month still as busy as it used to be in there, or not quite as much?
Not quite as much, probably.
Okay.
So, I do see some mailers, that'll mail out a postcard to say, watch for your calendar. I mean, if that's an option. we do letters much faster than we do flats. Our letter machines will do 30,000 pieces an hour. We turn those around a lot faster than we turn flats around. I mean, so some people will send out a postcard or a letter saying, if you want a catalog, you can request it, or you can do our webpage. That's also an option, you know. So, but as far as the day of the week, it really does not matter. The sooner you can get it on the day, the sooner you get it to the post office, the sooner we process it and get it moving. That does help. But
one other question that we have in the chat, and is a good one. If we are having mailing delivery issues or any issues for that matter, who do we contact with problems? Is there a website, a phone number? Here in North Dakota, what do we do? Who do we reach out to?
That's, you know, I think on the USPS.com website, there is a place that you can request information. There's also some industry standard emails that come out if, now like when we had this storm last week and we had closures here in the Dakotas, that comes out to you to let you know that, you know, Bismarck was closed and, you know, I think Carson was closed, or Center, Garrison, Washburn, whoever was closed, to let you know that, you know, expect a delay there because that, you know, something like that has happened. So there is industry alerts that come out to as well, which you can sign up for to get.
Is that something maybe you could find the link and we could share that with the audience when we send out our follow-up correspondence?
Absolutely. In fact, I can find it while the next presenter is on and throw it right in the chat.
Awesome.
Does that work? Okay.
Are there any other questions from our group before we move on into our program? If not, I'm going to turn it over back to Carissa Dawes to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you for your great questions, and another thank you to Jody for joining us tonight. We will open back up for questions after our next speaker. I would like to introduce Abram Mertz. Abram grew up in Wamego, Kansas on the family's Simmental and Sim Angus operation. He graduated from Kansas State University with a bachelor's degree in agricultural economics. Abram is the founder and CEO of Livestock Direct, which prints and mails sale catalogs and works to make sure that those catalogs are being delivered most effectively. One of the tools he and others use to facilitate mailing is MailScope, a tool you can use to track catalog delivery in real time. He is here tonight to talk about how this application works and more. Abram?
Yeah, thank you. Guys hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, my name is Abram Mertz. I'm the owner and founder of Livestock Direct. We're located here in Manhattan, Kansas. So I'm just a couple of blocks off of Kansas State University's campus here this evening. And it's great talking to you guys, and really thrilled to be invited. We work with so many seed stock producers in South Dakota and North Dakota. And so this is, I think, a perfect opportunity to kind of get a chance to talk to you. A little bit about Livestock Direct. We are a direct marketing company, again, located in Manhattan, Kansas. We work primarily with seed stock cattle producers. In any given year, we'll help 300 to 400 seed stock cattle producers around the nation print marketing materials for their sale. So we have customers in Texas, up to North Dakota, Florida, Washington. We really work nationwide. And I was looking at a couple of stats while the previous presenter was going. Since our inception, we've printed and assisted seed stock producers with marketing materials for over 2,200 events. And I have a database of 2.7 million mail pieces that we've mailed for seed stock cattle producers that we track down to the piece level, delivery times, delivery status, etc. So when you guys were asking why and how long it takes. I can tell you specifically, and would happy to do so at the end of this presentation for you guys. A little bit about me personally, just so you're familiar, more familiar. I grew up on a seed stock cattle operation, River Creek Farms, just east of Manhattan, and grew up raising purebred Simmental cattle. So seed stock is really in my blood. This is my family's bull sale catalog that I helped design and print for them. And so this is really a topic that I'm passionate about. Grew up just kind of eating, breathing, and sleeping seed stock marketing. And so I'm ready to kick it off here. Let me share my screen. All right, can you guys see my presentation there? Okay, perfect. So I'm kind of like a numbers guy. So most of the time when I get on the phone with our seed stock clients, I'm asking a lot of economics-based questions, numbers-based questions. So I'm gonna kind of present just a very broad example of sort of what I'm going through when I'm trying to help my seed stock producers make decisions. And I also kind of want to present some key metrics for you guys to consider as you start making marketing decisions for your next year's sale. You start trying to determine strategy. Because one of the things that I get the most is, I don't know if it worked, or I don't know if it was effective. And for me, this industry is really great because it's super simple to figure out if your marketing was effective. Did your gross go up? That's really all that we focus on with our clients. So I really, so on this presentation screen, you're going to see here's 100 different bidders. So we have 100 bidders that showed up to your sale, and your sale ended up grossing $500,000. Now, this isn't your sale. This is an example. So you can kind of pencil along. And then for this thought process, let's just say you mailed 1,000 catalogs. So just really round numbers. I'll stop here and say, I'm not focusing on buyers. Buyers are a category of, they're your customers. We, from a marketing perspective, can't really determine or help you sell more to your existing clientele. I mean, we can get them to come back, but there's a lot of factors that go into why somebody might buy 2 bulls, why somebody might buy 1, factors that are external, like did one of their bulls get struck by lightning last year? Or did they have to reduce their cow herd size because of the drought? These are all things that affect the number of buyers at your sale. But generally speaking, the bidders is a fairly constant number that you can count on. So if you have 100 bidders this year and you kind of load up, sell the same amount of bulls, send the same amount of catalogs, do the same marketing, you're probably going to have 100 bidders next year. And so what I like to do with my customers is kind of break this down into key metrics. And the first thing that I always try to determine when we talk to our customers is what their bidder value is. Because this really starts putting in perspective the value of marketing and what you can spend on marketing. So in this example, we've got $500,000 gross, 100 bidders. So every bidder at that sale is adding, on average, $5,000 in revenue. So that means one bidder is really important for you. And it doesn't matter if it's a bidder who buys a bull or doesn't buy a bull. We can't determine that. That's the free market, and an auction will determine that. But generally speaking, every bidder is going to buy a bull, or every bidder is going to be worth $500,000 or $5,000 to you in this example. So the first thing that I sort of walk through is sometimes marketing and its impact on your bottom line are simpler than you might think. So if you want to raise your sale gross $100,000, it might be as simple as just attracting 20 new bidders in this scenario. And that's going to increase demand for your product if you have 120 bidders versus 100 next year. And when we increase demand, we increase price in an auction. So it's very simple to think of your auction and the future success of your auction in terms of just how many bidders do I have today and what do I have to do to increase the number of bidders tomorrow. So on the other side of the bidding equation is how they got there. So in this, we mailed 1,000 catalogs and it netted us 100 bidders. And so in direct mail terms and marketing terms, we would say the rate of the return for the catalog is 10%. So for every 10 catalogs we send, for every 10 catalogs we send out, we can kind of expect one bidder. And rate of return will vary based on the type of mailing you have and who you're mailing it to. So with a catalog, we're generally mailing to previous customers or people who have expressed interest, leads. Those people have a really high propensity to buy from you. If you go out and you target non-member bull buyers who don't know you, or you don't know if they're in the market, you can expect your rate of return to go down. But you'll see later how we kind of factor that. So if you know your cost per bidder, or your cost of a single catalog and your rate of return, or your cost of any direct mail piece, we can kind of create an acquisition price or an acquisition cost. So now we're entering, if any of you guys watch Shark Tank territory, now you can start answering those questions. You know, how much does it cost to get a new customer? So there's a couple calculations below where, you know, we have a $3 catalog and a 10% rate of return. Well, that's a $30 bidder acquisition cost. Likewise, if your catalog isn't as effective, or you're mailing it to an audience that isn't, maybe you know less about, your rate of return might go down. And so, you know, your bidder acquisition cost will go up. Or you could look at it as, you know, the price of your piece goes up, and in that third example, your rate of return is real low. Well, there you're looking at a bidder acquisition cost of $500 per bidder. So the cool thing is you can start doing calculations on like postcards, for example. Well, postcards are 50 cents. And oftentimes the rate of return will be 0.5% or 1% realistically. So 0.5 divided by 0.01 is still $50. So you can send out cheap postcards to a larger group of people, and that bidder acquisition cost of $50 is still in line with the strategy you're currently using for a catalog that's netting you between $30 and $60. So just that's kind of what we try to boil it down to people that we work with is, let's talk bidder acquisition costs, because we need more bidders and you can pay for more bidders by marketing more. So then we sort of factor in our ROI, because we're all businessmen and women here. So we want to make sure we're spending money. And this just sounds ridiculous. You know, if you take a $5,000 bidder value and you know you're spending $500 to acquire those bidders, that's a 1,000% direct mail ROI. That means for every dollar, I might be off a zero, but basically for every dollar you spend, you're making hundreds back. So direct mail can pay, and your U.S. postal rep, the postal rep that was speaking before, would agree with that. And from what I can tell, managing seat stock campaigns and then even going out and managing non-ad related marketing campaigns, we see this all day, every day. Direct mail really pays. Now, oops, up there. So the question is, why don't you feel like your marketing ROI is 1,000%? And the answer is because you're paying other channels, you're spending money on other types of marketing that are less efficient. And as you sort of spend more money, you are decreasing your ROI, because a lot of times your bidders stay the same. So at Livestock Direct, what we're really dialed into is this concept of direct marketing. So we want to directly communicate with potential bidders, your potential bidders on your behalf. And we want to distribute our message directly into their hands. And we don't really want to rely on mass media, because two things happen when we get out into mass media. One, there's a markup, and two, there's competition. So if you think of social media, how many times do you get on social media nowadays and you only see one cow? Never, for me. When I get on social media, I see more cows than humans. That's competition. When you deliver your catalog, when I'm holding a catalog directly in my hands like this, even if it's for 1 minute before I put it down into another pile into the pile of catalogs, you've got your customers' direct attention or potential bidders' direct attention. And so we're doing this at Livestock Direct with primarily direct mail marketing materials, but we're also starting to integrate text messaging and really anything that creates a personal experience with your brand that is outside of a lot of the mass marketing and mass media that your customers are doing. So, and put another way, we're sort of taking a shotgun approach, or we're taking what was a shotgun approach to marketing and looking at it more as like a sniper rifle. So we want to eliminate all the waste on the outside that's just sort of sale day anxiety or production sale anxiety, saying I need more, maybe I need an advertise over here, I don't know, I can't tell if any of this is working. We sort of like to cut through that and say what does work and how do we deliver more of that message. So just a couple tips through this section of my presentation, because we want to help, once we discuss the budget, there's a lot of ways to continue to optimize and make your direct mail campaigns and marketing campaigns as efficient as possible relative to what you're comfortable spending. So the one thing that we really stress is identifying like a target audience and understanding where they're at in the sales stage. So an example of like River Creek Farms is a lot of our customers are commercial cow-calf producers in Kansas. And immediately I like using Livestock Direct's resources, I can go in and access a database from Beef Magazine and know how many there are in Kansas. I can get their information and then we can target them directly. And likewise in South Dakota and North Dakota, we can do the exact same thing. One tip that I would have for you is to graph to plot your buyers on an actual map, which there's free tools that you can upload like a CSV file and plot and get an idea for the geography that you're marketing into. One of the ways that I blew a lot of cash when I was younger trying to market River Creek Farms was to sort of just think to myself, today I'm going to sell more bulls to X state, and then start buying publication ads and sending, full sale catalogs to more people in that state. The reality is you're going to begin to sell more to seed stock producers who are aware of you. Great tool for awareness is knowing somebody who's purchased from you before. So a lot of times we start by saying, okay, where are you selling bulls now? Let's start maximizing that. Or where are people who are contacting you from? Let's target more of those people. So after we sort of understand our audiences, we really begin to discuss with our customers, and then to put it more specifically for my family at River Creek, we start differentiating the direct mail and direct marketing experience based on the value of the audience. So first and foremost, we have customers. Now, there are customers that you would feel sick if they didn't get your catalog. And then there are customers or people who maybe request a catalog that you know nothing about. We at Livestock Direct can help you treat those people differently. So we spend the most money on existing customers, knowing that their rate of return for whatever we send them is as high as any category is going to get. So we know there's going to be a huge ROI on anything that we send to them. And then as we go down, we begin saving money. We begin making more cost-effective decisions. So we might send our customer list and people who we know a lot about but haven't bought from us a catalog first class, but we send everybody else, maybe like we go to Simmental and say, can I get non-member poll buyers? We send them standard. And the reason why we do that is because the goal is to send as much as possible. So when I'm doing my catalog, I'm trying to shave as many pages as possible. I'm trying to make it as skinny as possible. I'm trying to do everything I can to make it as cheap as possible. I own a marketing company, and I print it on the most basic paper where there's no upcharges. Because at the end of the day, I want to stretch my dollar as far as I can to get my pool of direct mail recipients as big as it can. So in doing so, you can take this is just an example number. You can go from spending X amount of dollars on 1,000 catalogs, and by sort of differentiating your lists, you can push up to 1,300, 1,400, 1,500 catalogs. So you're able to target 500 more people. Well, 500 more people times a 5% rate of return is 25 new bidders. So it starts adding up quick. And then we go even steps farther. So we utilize Livestock Direct's connection with Beef Magazine to target commercial cow-calf producers. And we target, Beef allows you to select customers that have, 25 cows all the way up to 500 plus. But at River Creek Farms, what we've realized is that we can target a lot of commercial cattle producers. We can target a lot of commercial cattle producers nationwide, and we can encourage them to bid online. And when we encourage them to bid online, it becomes easy to buy from River Creek. And our rate of return on those postcards, while it's really low, the price of the postcard is also very low. So like our bidder acquisition cost example above, our actual bidder acquisition cost on the postcards we send is about equivalent to the catalogs we send. And so once you sort of understand that a bidder is worth $5,000 and it costs me $50 to bid, to get a new bidder, you can begin to scale your marketing budget to sort of match the amount of revenue, or to increase your revenue pretty dramatically fast. So this comes with some caveats. That's sort of like best case scenario. You got to calibrate your messaging to appeal to your target market. So a lot of the seed stock producers that we work with spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money convincing people to try to change how they're raising cattle. Like, you're doing it this way, that's wrong, you should be doing it this way. And that's a very inefficient form of marketing. So what we always try to encourage our clients to do is come up with a value proposition and understand the elements of your bull sale, like the EPDs, the performance variables that are driving value. So for River Creek, we have 3 or 4 things that we know contribute a huge majority to the value or the final sale price of a bull. So about 3 EPDs dictate a huge percentage of the final price of a bull at auction. And so our marketing only talks about those 3 things, because our clientele has told us that they find them insanely, they're very important. It's insanely important for them. So we don't spend time talking about the other 27 things that each bull, the other 27 EPDs that every bull sells with. We just talked about 3. And so you got to tailor your direct marketing, your direct mail strategy around the things that drive price in your sale, not around the things that give you the warm fuzzies about your herd. And sometimes those are two very different things. The call to action is also hugely important and often very overlooked on almost every direct mail piece we do. So I like to ask everybody that we work with, if I can get them on the phone, what's the goal of this postcard? And if you can't answer, then you're going to feel like you're wasting money. So because you're going to send a postcard that nobody knows what to do with. So I'm a really big proponent of a big, simple call to action. So that starts getting to that point starts with identifying the goal first. So it might be if your goal is to build your catalog mailing list, you have to ask people to request a catalog and give them a place to do it. If your goal is to get more online bidders, you got to tell them to bid online, like bid online at dbauction.com as an example. If your goal is to increase web traffic, which is a little bit more difficult to gauge value or to gauge ROI, then you got to tell them like view videos at this website. And if you're asking for event RSVPs or anything like that, you have to specifically tell them how to RSVP and imply that you would like them to RSVP. And it sounds almost a little bit too simple to say this, but these things are often overlooked. One of the things that I get most frustrated with our clients is they'll opt to send a postcard, but that postcard will have a dad, his brother, and their 2 sons' phone numbers on it. It'll have 3 emails. It'll have 3 physical addresses, and then it'll have a website and an email address. Well, when you take that postcard, mail it to thousands of people, and then those thousands of people, a small percentage of them decide they're interested, and that small percentage chooses dad's phone number to call or brother's phone number to call or the company email, or they just go online. What you're doing is you're sort of breaking up your results into a bunch of different channels that most of the time are impossible to sort of, that are kind of impossible to gauge and impossible to keep track of. So, from my family, I don't almost never put anything other than a website on any of our direct mail. And if I put anything else, it's a phone number. And that is because of the average age of a bull buying customer. So I give sort of two pathways for people who are interested to come in, and I can gauge effectiveness on my website, and I can ask my dad how many people called him. So it's really simple to sort of gauge, did that work? So yeah, this goes into really more of that call to action and that specific goal. So really just limiting the other channels that you're giving potential leads or potential bidders the opportunity to communicate with you through. And then the final thing is just, to have a plan to keep delivering the message. So Teresa talked about like informed delivery. That's a really cool tool from the post office, but there's also lots of tools at your disposal. Livestock Direct helps our clients deploy them. So the first one that we really work with people on is digital display. So you've worked really hard to create a catalog or a postcard that gets people to your website. A lot of times people go to websites and don't do anything. They leave. And if they leave your website without filling out a form or calling you or deciding to call you, then there's no return on your investment from that piece of direct mail. So what we can do is set up ads that follow your website visitors for up to 45 days and continue to deliver them your brand. This is technology that's widely used by all other industries in America, but it's often a marketing channel that's overlooked by seed stock producers. We can go even farther. We can do household level targeting. So we can take your mailing list or an email list and start delivering ads directly into those households on that list. We can deliver banner ads, video advertisements on smart TVs, and like ahead of videos being watched. And we can even deliver audio commercials in podcasts now at a household level. So you're not sort of guessing who you're spending money marketing to, you're calibrating it on a household level and not wasting any money. And so like this is an example of some digital display ads that have been effective that we ran for other seed stock producers that we work with. And again, you're placing these ads where your prospective bidders are looking at online. So it's not on your website. You're not sort of guessing what breed association website they might be going to. This is an ad right next to an article they're reading about the economy, or an ad right next to a recipe they're looking at, or an ad right next to a car they're interested in buying. So you're really sort of interacting with these bidders in an environment of their choice, and not guessing where you should be spending money to get in front of them, which is very different. So the other thing we do, which I was fascinated by some of your questions during at the end of the Postal Service, but Livestock Direct has developed a proprietary platform that allows us to track deliveries of catalogs at an individual level using the scan data that they were referencing in the USPS conversation. And then we take that scan data and we line it back up to your mailing list that you send to us. And by doing so, we can provide you with a delivery status of every catalog that you mail, assuming it's scanned, which is a big assumption with Postal Service, but most of the time it's not a problem. So this has been a really cool tool for our customers. A lot of this platform cuts down on a lot of anxiety because it gives you visibility into your catalog's mailing if there's a problem. If there's a problem, and by a problem I mean if they get to the middle, if they get to the bulk mail processing facility in Bismarck, say for example, and they aren't scanned for 4 days, there's still nothing we can do about it, but at least you know they're in Bismarck. And so there's been times where we have been able to answer why aren't my catalogs being delivered by going into Mailscope, and we can see that they maybe are being delivered everywhere in the United States except for this area of your state. And so that's really cool. The other thing that we can do with Mailscope is we can show you exceptions. So exceptions are returns or forwards. So in real time, when the Postal Service scans the catalog and says it's going back to the seed stock producer's mailbox, we can log that as a return in Mailscope. So you know in real time if somebody doesn't get the catalog. So again, if you just check it every day, you can sort of keep up with who isn't getting a catalog. And if you have a client or a potential bidder that you would be concerned if they didn't get a catalog, you can monitor that. And like I said at the beginning, we're up to 2.7 million data points. So 2.7 million catalogs essentially mailed across the United States. And so I have put our average delivery times for North Dakota and South Dakota up on the right-hand side. So the interesting thing about deliveries with the post office, as we've seen, is that almost never is the result of a delayed delivery where the catalog was mailed from. So we can mail from Kansas, you could mail from Tennessee. Almost always that slowdown occurs at the last mile, which is to say the local post office level. So that's a lot of the times why the post office doesn't really have a lot of great answers because there's a ton of local post offices and a lot of variability in how they're doing their job. So we will see a big group of catalogs get mailed at the regional bulk mail processing unit. And then they will leave and we will see them the same, we know they're in the same group, we'll see them start to get delivered. So that's why, if I had to guess, like the Moorhead example mailing, it's probably at the local level, which is why that guy hadn't gotten his catalog and everybody else had. From that local level, you just sort of can move up how these catalogs traverse through the mail stream. So when we see big delays, they are at the like regional bulk mail processing unit. So I can't remember the where they're at in North Dakota, but there's 2 for first class mail. And basically they control the west side of the state and the east side of the state. So we'll have seed stock producers sometimes see a couple day difference in delivery rates on, for the east side of the state relative to the west side. That's because from the origin or from where they entered the stream, they're split up and sent to those 2 bulk mail processing units. And depending on staffing, weather, and also just mail volume, you can see different delivery times based on those bulk mail units. So the real thing that I would focus in on the stats, is this 95% delivery window. So when you ask how far ahead of my sales should I be mailing my catalog to make sure most people get it, this is that stat. So 95% of catalogs that we mail first class to North Dakota are delivered within 8.4 business days. In South Dakota, that number is 7.7. And then as far as standard mail, which would be a cheaper solution or a cheaper option, you're looking at basically a 14-day delivery window in North Dakota and a 12-day delivery window in South Dakota. Now, the caveat is this is statistics, so you could have some wild outliers. I can't guarantee any of this. This is more or less for the benefit, statistics that we generate for the benefit of our customers so we can plan better. But stuff happens and there's variables that we can't control. So you will see stuff take longer than 14 days for standard mail, but it also might take 2 days to be delivered. So it kind of works both ways. But for planning purposes, those are sort of numbers that you can work off of. So we've taken MailScope a step farther. So we're logging the status of every catalog we mail as it goes. So we have in production, when it mailed, we have when it's been scanned to be delivered, and then we have when it's been returned or scanned to a scan for an error. And so what we've done is we've built out automated text messaging. So if our clients give us a list that has addresses and phone data, cell phone data, we can actually automate now SMS messages that go along with hyper relevant points of your sales cycle to your customers. So if you're anything like me, about 3 weeks before sale, you start getting really annoying phone calls that say they're annoying because it's, you're just stressed, but start getting annoying phone calls like, hey, when's the catalog going to be done? And in this scenario, what we can do is automate a message that as soon as it goes into production at Livestock Direct, we send an email that says, it's in production, it's going to be there soon. And if you can't wait, look at it online. So we immediately get them online, which going back to the HS, the Humane Society example in the Postal Service, you're doing an omni-channel marketing that's kind of pushing people specifically to a website while utilizing direct mail. So you have a reason to talk to them, you have a reason to get them to kind of go into your site. So then we can go a step farther and say, hey, your catalog's actually on the way. Like you should be expecting it within a couple days. So what you're doing is you're sort of priming the pump, if you will, You're laying the foundation for somebody to be looking for your catalog and to be expecting it, which is a really powerful sales tool. At the same time, we can target your customers when their catalogs are scanned as delivered. So again, not every catalog is going to get a delivery scan because of different technologies across the USPS ecosystem, but a majority of them should. And we can time a text message. We can time a text message to the day they get the catalog. And that text message doesn't have to sound like a sales pitch. It can say, hey, I think you probably should have gotten the catalog today. Really excited for you to look at the bulls. Let me know if you have any questions. Here's my number. And that's a powerful sales tool. And then also on the back side of that, to reduce some of the anxiety and to help you sort of plan for next year, if there is a situation where a catalog does get returned, which can happen, I'm looking at all of our catalogs that we've mailed in the last 2 weeks, and I would say on average 2% of them are being returned, scanned as returned, so just bad data those 2% of people, we can line them up to get a text message that says, hey, it looks like your catalog's not being delivered, look at it online, and can you send us an updated address? Help us get our next catalog to you. So when you start thinking about this, if you've got a cell phone number for a bidder, prospective bidder, or a buyer, and you send them a catalog that utilizes this automated SMS messaging, you're increasing your personal touch points 4 times 4. So if you've got 1,000 people on your list and you happen to have 1,000 cell phones, which might not be the case, but if you have 1,000 people on your list, you're creating 4,000 extra touches, sales points, basically by doing nothing. And that's the key to sort of getting people looking at your direct mail that you're sending and then seriously considering bidding at your sale. So that's kind of my presentation. I am happy to open up the floor to answer any questions you guys may have. I can go from strategy to production to postal logistics. It's pretty much what I do all day, so feel free to fire away.
Great, thank you for the presentation. Are there questions from our group? I have one that I'll start off with. So you talked about your MailScope technology. So is that applicable to all different types of mailings or classes of mailings? Or do you have to choose one particular option in order to be in sync with that application, that technology?
Yeah, that's a good question. We can track first class and standard mailings or marketing mail mailings. So basically 100% of what this group is going to be mailing, we can track that. If you have a larger catalog that you're mailing using like more like first class retail or bound printed matter, we can create a similar set of reports.
Are there other questions from the group? What would be your advice about, you talked about the value propositions, and so narrowing your focus. Give us just a 1 minute explanation of how you boil that down to be the most impactful in your marketing.
Yeah, so I think one of the cool things, and I kind of touched on it in my presentation, is that the nature of an auction is price discovery. And so nobody's forced to bid at your sale, and nobody's forced to pay more than they're willing to pay. And so at the end of the day, you have a data set of bulls that you've sold for the high selling price all the way down to bulls you didn't sell. And you can utilize that price data to figure out the traits or EPDs that are driving that price up. A lot of times, people think that their breeding program might be the exception to the rule, but you'd be surprised at kind of how simple it can be. And so once you can hit on those or identify those traits that are adding value, you can start calibrating your messaging to those traits specifically, and not spend time and paper essentially trying to sell something that you know isn't contributing to value to your clients.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Before we move to our next section in our program, are there any additional questions for either Abram or Jody and Randy before we move to their next section? All right, quite a bunch. Thank you to our presenters tonight. Great information, lots to think about and lots of options. We've come a long way, right, with the opportunities and the technology. So thank you for being with us. Next, I will turn it over to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, again, not only our communication director, but heads up the North Dakota Stockman magazine, and she has a couple things she'd like to share on that regard as well.
Thank you, Julie. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. But the North Dakota Stockman is the official publication of the North Dakota Stockmen's Association. And it is a full color magazine that features industry news, production, management, and health tips. The North Dakota Stockman is published 11 times a year, every month except for June. The deadline to advertise in this award-winning publication is the 15th of the month preceding the publication. The holidays are coming, but so is sales season, and deadlines are going to sneak up on you guys. And so contact me soon. In addition to advertising, we also have ring service available. Call the office at 701-223-2522 if you are interested in having ring service this year. And did you know that a 1-year subscription of the North Dakota Stockman is included in the Stockmen's Association membership? Membership is the foundation of the North Dakota Stockmen's Association, and advertisers that are also North Dakota Stockmen's Association members receive a discount on their advertisements. So if you want more information on that or a rate card, just reach out to me. My email is enesham@ndstockman.org or call the office. I'd be happy to talk to you all about that, and we look forward to the opportunity to work with and for you this sales season. As you have lots to check off your to-do list, I know that. I'm going to invite Nancy Jo Bateman with the North Dakota North Dakota Beef Commission, excuse me, who's going to talk about check off dollars.
Well, hi, everybody. Glad to be with you this evening. Gosh, that screen looks way better than I do tonight. Thank you for that. You know, now that you all have worked so hard to develop your great genetics and to have a superior end product in your cattle to market to producers, you also want your genetics to shine at the meat case and in restaurants and in grocery stores. And that's where the Beef Commission and the Beef Checkoff comes into play. Now, to do that, the Beef Commission and your checkoff dollars are at work every day to help ensure that there are consumers, our beef customers, well, in North Dakota, across the country, and in foreign markets, trust you as our producers for beef, that trust our product to be safe and nutritious and delicious, and that want great beef, whether it's at the grocery store, in a restaurant, or any place that you can find beef. That's what your checkoff does through beef research, education, and promotion programs. And I'm probably not telling any of you, because you're awesome producers, you know, things that you don't already know. But the Beef Checkoff involves all producers, and everyone participates when cattle change ownership. When you host your own production sales or sell seed stock or any cattle private treaty, our job, we feel, is to help you stay in compliance with laws on the checkoff. We've made an effort to do that. Some of you, or hopefully all of you, have gotten reminder letters from the Beef Commission early in the year. Just say, you know, ahead of sales season, saying, you know, hope you have a great sale. If you need any help with the checkoff, let us know. and something along that line. You know, we've never really have problems with our seed stock producers. You guys are so cooperative. We just want to make sure that our seed stock folks add the beef check off to your sale checklist. Excuse me. And if you have looked in the most recent November Stockman magazine that Elizabeth does such a great job with, that for the first time, you'll find an ad in there with similar information that I've just covered. It includes a remittance form. I just would ask you, you know, find that ad in your magazine, cut it out, copy it, put it in your sale file as a reminder, and excuse me, and get those checkoff dollars in as soon as you're closing out the books for your sale. And then you won't get any other letters from the Beef Commission, which we would love to avoid. And if you can't find a form, we take just checks. You can send them in with a note in the memo, anything like that. We have a new staff person. She's been with us about a year. Her name is Wendy Massett in our office. She is currently our collection and compliance person and is moving into our office manager position, but Wendy can answer your questions, or Nicole can in the office. And we just wish you the best through the winter and that you have a great sales season this coming year. And I will turn it back to Elizabeth.
Thank you, Nancy Jo. I'm going to turn it over to Julie now.
Awesome. Well, before we move on, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Nancy Jo. Many of you have worked alongside her, I believe 38 years in her role, heading up the North Dakota Beef Commission. And so an impending retirement and certainly a job well done. So thank you for your service to our industry and have fun with those grandbabies, right?
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
As we talk about remittance for the beef checkoff and some other things on your to-do list, we also would be remiss if we didn't also provide some reminder information about brand inspection. Certainly brand inspection is one of the components of the Stockmen's Association's portfolio. And as you probably all know, North Dakota state law requires that cattle or livestock sellers provide their buyers with a legal proof of ownership within 15 days. Interestingly, that's the same period of time that you're required to provide the clear title for a vehicle, for instance. And so it's the same with cattle, horses, and mules in North Dakota. As you know, if you have your production sale at an auction market, our inspectors, our team is stationed right there at the market. And so that task is taken care of for you because that's part of their regular duties. If you have an off-site production sale and would like a brand inspector to be the one to provide the proof of ownership, we do that as well. And so we encourage you, just as it's getting to be hectic and busy times with all the other details with sales, certainly it is as well with the inspectors. And so if you can give our office or your local brand inspector as much notice as possible, that's helpful to our team and to make sure that we can provide that timely service to you. You know, one advantage of having the inspectors there on site, of course, is that when you have a market clearance and the local brand inspection, if those inevitably get lost at some level, we do have a permanent record of those documents on file here in the office, and duplicates can be generated, which will become an important factor for your customers down the road, so their proceeds aren't held and we can clear those challenges up in an expedited fashion. We have a new chief brand inspector, Corby Ward. He can answer any specific questions for you. And of course, our website has a complete list of the local inspectors as well. So keep those things in mind. Another little reminder, or maybe to answer some questions that have been out there. Many of you know that the North Dakota Stockmen's Association and our foundation are working together on a building campaign. We have been blessed to be in the facility that we're at for nearly 50 years. We have grown. We've grown in membership and services and responsibilities and staff. And so we are excited about taking the legacy that we have started here to a new headquarters that will service really as the new cattle industry headquarters for the state of North Dakota. Some have talked about ways that they can be part of this important and historic project. The Stockmen's Association is a 501c5, and so there's opportunities for giving through the association, as well as opportunities through the Stockman's Foundation, which is a 501c3. And so without, obviously not a tax professional, but the basic difference between those is there's some charitable giving opportunities with the 501c3 that might be something that would be attractive if you're interested in being a part of the project. In addition to cash gifts, many of our members and supporters have been interested in opportunities for commodity gifts. And those commodities can come in the form of, whether it be a load of corn or a load of hay or an animal. And we have received some generous gifts in the way of animals. And some people have asked about how they might go about that. If maybe, for instance, they'd like to do that through their production sale. In all cases, it's important to consult your tax advisor, whether it's an accountant or attorney, to know what the best situation is for your individual situation. But what has been popular and has been a strategy that has worked for a lot of our members who have inquired about that is, for instance, let's use an example, a bull from your sale. That animal would be transferred to either the Stockman's Association or the Stockman's Foundation before the animal is sold. In the way that many have been able to capture value is that the donor does not have to claim income on the said commodity or the said animal because the ownership of it's transferred before, and so it's not sold before it's transferred. And then later the charity actually would sell the item and again would benefit from the proceeds from that sale. So lots of ways to participate in that project. Again, we've been just overwhelmed with the great support so far. If this is something of interest to you and you want to learn more about it, feel free to give me a call at the office and we can talk about opportunities that would be available there. I will pause a moment and I see our chat is filling in here with some questions. And it looks like they're about if we're going to have a recording. Yes, then it'll be available tomorrow. And we'll also send some more information about the Informed Delivery campaign. With that, I'm going to move pass the baton, I guess, back to Elizabeth, who can give us some reminders about some important seed stock happenings coming up here in North Dakota.
Thank you, Julie. I'm going to remind you guys this evening about several NDSA and North Dakota Breed Association events coming up here in December. On December 3rd, the North Dakota Hereford Association annual meeting, banquet, and sale will take place in Valley City. On December 9th in Bismarck, the North Dakota Red Angus Association will have their annual meeting and banquet. Right beside them, I believe the North Dakota Simmental Association will have their annual meeting in Mandan and later their banquet in Bismarck on December 9th, and then their Red Select and Classic sales on December 10th at Kiss Livestock in Mandan. On January 7th, the North Dakota Angus Association will have their state select sale at Kiss Livestock in Mandan. And then January 28th, the North Dakota Gelbvieh Association will have their annual meeting in Mandan, followed the next day by their Golden Rule sale at Kiss Livestock. If there are no more questions, I'm going to thank you all for joining us virtually tonight. It's great to see you all. And the video for tonight's presentation, like we said, will be available on our website tomorrow. So if you want to rewatch the program, share the link with a friend, any of that fun stuff, it will be available at www.ndstockman.org. But thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thanks all.